Maseches Bava Metzia Daf Peiches Amud Beis. We're back to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We're here in Avos Shalom in Beit Shemesh, and welcome to everybody here, everybody on YouTube channel that we have, and everybody in Torah anytime that views and watches us. We are very much in the middle of the sugya of Meiser. When a person has fruit in his field, it's not like he has to take Meiser straight away, not even if he lives in Eretz Yisrael. There's a process that has to happen before the person takes Meiser. And that is, first, there has to be something called Gemar Melacha. And that I didn't explain yesterday. The Torah says the word Dogon. Dogon or Goyren are words that basically describe a situation in which the fruit was already arranged. It's nicely arranged and ready to be eaten, being brought into the house or sold. And after that, there's another stage called Roya Pnei Habayis, when the person brings it home. So halachically, and this will only discover the end of the game, but I'm just going to give you background. After the person already was memareach, arranged the fruit nicely in the box in all kinds of ways. Each produce has different way of arranging it halachically. Then, when that happens, the person is not supposed to eat keva. You can't eat from that fruit in a proper, stable way. You're allowed to eat from it arai. You can eat from the fruit arai, meaning, like snacking or nashing or eating it in a not very set way, in a more, temporary way. And once it comes into the house, then it already is kovea. That's a second stage called kvius lemaisers. Once it's nikbad, it becomes set for meiser, and then even one tiny bit you cannot eat. This is a general rule, but now the Gemara is actually on its way to discover that halacha. So we are right now in the fifth line from the top of the page, Peiches Amud Beis. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Meisiv Mar Zutra. Mar Zutra asks a question. Mar Zutra is asking, from a Mishnah, is challenging the opinions that we've seen before in Peiches Amud Aleph. Yesterday's year, we saw the opinions of Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai says once the fruit comes into the house and the fruit goes through the main door of the house, or the house, not the courtyard, the chotzer, that's what makes it kavua l'maiser, as I just told you before. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Once it sees the face of the chotzer, once it enters the area, the airspace of one's courtyard, the front yard, through the gate, and the yard is mishtameres, it's a yard that is guarded and fenced, well fenced, then it's kavua l'maiser. But before that, you can eat it, b'derech arai, maybe even more midoraisa. Now the question is as follows: Meisiv Mar Zutra, Mar Zutra is asking the question: Ezu going on lemaisos? When is it considered that some fruit and vegetables? We're going to take one example soon. When is the goren? What's goren? When is it considered to be completely chayiv b'maiser? Remember, according to Rashi, as we said yesterday, the Gemara claims again and again that there are no two stages. Not only chotzer is not important. According to Rashi, the Gemara is all the time trying to get it, saying, no, there's one stage, it's a one-stop shop, which means, look what it says over here. Ezu gonen l'maisos. When do certain vegetables are considered as goyren, that it's finished, done deal, end of story, and you cannot pick one fruit anymore? Well, one example, bekishuim ubediluim, in kishuim, courgette, or how do you call it in American English? Cucumbers, gourds, pumpkins, all those kinds of things. Misha ifaksu. Ifaksu means once there's like a flower at the end of the gourd, and when it falls, some say it falls by itself. Some say that the person himself has to take it off off the vegetable. At that point, they're considered as ready, gemar, and keva. It's all together. Rabbi Yasi explains the Mishnah. Mishinotel fikas shalohen. Once that little flower gets off, either falls, and you know that it falls, and it's nicely arranged, and it's ready because the little flower is off, then it's already ready to be what? To be taken meiser, and you're not allowed to already eat from it at all. My love must be mishifaksu afilu basade. Which means you people Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai, both of you said that only once the fruit or vegetable of any type enters the house, according to Rabbi Yanai or the Chotz of Rabbi Yochanan, only then it's kavua l'maisros. Well, no, that's not true. Look what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says once it's mefukas, once you have the that little flower off, it's even in the field, it's arranged. That's it. That's gmar and keva. So where do you take that idea? Only if you enter the house. Says the Gemara, no. Answers the Gemara. Now the Gemara defends Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai. No, mishifaksu babais. No, who told you? Maybe mishifaksu means once you really do need 2 stages. You brought it home, and ifaksu babais after you entered through the main entrance with the flowers, and it wasn't yet finished. It wasn't yet gemar. It wasn't yet arranged and done. Then afterwards in the house, you're mefakes. Afterwards in the house, you arranged it, but you do really need both stages. Tosfos points out, and it's important to know, that even though Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai are off the hook, give you their opinions, why? Because they're both right. The Mishnah says you need to arrange, take off the flower, and they said you have to bring it to the house. They're both right. You need both. Says Tosfos, but wait a second. What does it say? Ifaksu babais. You first brought it home, and then you arranged it. That's the wrong order. Because if you see many places in the Shas, in Brochas Lamedei Amud Beis, in Psochim Tes, it says that no, as I told you all the time, you first have to arrange it, and you have to bring it indoors into the house once it's arranged. Here it's the other way around. Says Tosfos something very interesting. Tosfos says no, depends on the vegetable, depends on the produce. He says the norm depends what's the social norm, what's the agricultural norm. If the normal thing to do is to actually arrange it, by chita. Whenever we learn Hilchas Shabbos, the beginning, we learn about the process of how you treat wheat into bread, right? So what do? You peel it and you winnow, the whole thing, and then you have nice box of what? Grains, nice and peeled and tidy. That once normal and nice and tidy and orderly, you bring into the house. And a chanami, if you brought messy kind of wheat into the house, you're really not chayv b'maiser. I mean, ara, you can still eat ara. And mashenken, the gourds and the gherkins and all these, it's normal to bring them home when they're more messy. I'm not in agriculture, I believe Tosfos. You bring it even though the flowers are still attached. Once it's home, before your wife makes the next cucumber soup of salad, that's when you take them off. Yeah, so that's normal. Bekitzer, you need both stages. Sometimes you arrange it and then bring you home. Sometimes you bring home and then you arrange it. But be'etzem, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai are okay. You need 2 stages. Okay. Correct the Gemara, something grammatic doesn't make sense. The Gemara is now asking, if so, Misha yifaksu, listen to the language. Misha yifaksu means in English, once they're arranged. Once they're arranged means what? Only one condition, right? If I tell you, once you give me 100 shekels, I'll sell you the item. Mashma, there's no other condition. According to you, it should have said, ad shifaksu mi baile. Ad means as long as they're not mefukas, you don't have it. Ad shifaksu means, it's only called meiser, roy meiser, once it's ifaksu, ad, it's not chayev until ifaksu, meaning there's an additional condition. According to you, if ifaksu is a second condition, it should have said ad shifaksu. You're not chayev as long as another condition is not being met. Answers the Gemara, no. Itana ad shifaksu. Had you told me ad shifaksu is an additional condition, havamina, I would have thought ad digomar lefikusayu. I would have thought that let's say you have a box of 100 gherkins, all 100 gherkins have to be detached from the flowers. Yeah, that's what I would have thought. The reason we'll use a more lenient lotion of just like a starting point, to tell you that once you started arranging, even though the entire box is not yet arranged, only some of it, the flowers are taken off, that's enough to call it Gmar Meiser. But Lamaiser, don't get confused. Right now, where are we holding in the Sugya? You need both conditions. And that's the halacha, my friends. You need both conditions. They coexist. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai spoke about bringing it home, and they're right. And the Mishnah in Maisas, which we just quoted, about the gherkins and the gourds and the pumpkins and whatever, that is also true. Yeah, maybe the order is different, but at the end of the day, you need 2 conditions. You need Gmar Melocha. It's finished as a finished product. Only once brought home, it's Kavua, and then it's set for Meiser. You can't even eat one tiny bit, not even standing on one foot. Joking, yeah? So now that's basically what we're holding now. Mesiv Marzuta Beider of Nachman. Now, Marzuta, son of Rav Nachman, the Kodosh, is now asking the following question from a Mishnah. It says, Gornoi, I'm not sure it's a Mishnah actually, or Brisa, Gornoi lemaiser lechayev olov mishum tevel. This is a very, very general statement. Again, what does the Torah tell me? The Torah tells me to take meiser from what? From Goren. What's Goren? Goren is something arranged, something that is, whatever arranged means, yeah? Something set, yeah? In other words, not some fruit scattered all over the floor, let's say, yeah? When is Goren is the meiser lechayev olov mishum tevel? What's lechayev mishum tevel? That if you don't take meiser from that tevel, what's tevel? It's a pile of fruit or vegetables which wasn't yet meisered. It's a very big avera. What's the punishment for somebody who's tevel? Misa b'dei shamayim. Not chorus. Misa b'dei shamayim. Misa b'dei shamayim. It's a hard thing. You die before 60, not pleasant, yeah? So, l'chayv al mishum tevel. At what stage is it finished? From that point onwards, you cannot eat at all. Mishitigamer melachtan. Once you have Gmar Melocha, Gmar Melocha. You see what? Gmar Melocha and Keva intertwined. Ve'ezu Gmar Melachtan. What's called Gmar Melachtan? Meleches hachnasoson. The word hachnasa can mean more than one thing in Hebrew. I would say what's hachnasa? To bring into the house. Says the Gemara, no. My love, hachnasoson afilu besode. You tell me, what's lechnis in Hebrew? To bring in. Leikanes, to come in. But what's lechanes? Kinasti et anashim? No, lechanes, not lachnis. Lechanes is together. Kinasti et kol anashim. So a Gemara in the Haviman wants to say hachnasoson in the field, meaning I piled it up. Ooh, where do you pile up the grains? Last time I learned in Shabbos, where? In the field, right? You have it scattered all over the field once you harvested. You are mechanes. It's called me'amer in Hilchos Shabbos, yeah? You piled it up, yeah? You heap it up, and at that point, even in the field, without being indoors, we say that what? It's already considered as finished, done deal, and you can't take one tiny bit. Yeah? Answers the Gemara, no. Loi, achnasoson lebayis, zeu gmar melachta. No, really, it doesn't mean lechanes together. It means, like in modern Hebrew, lehachnis labayit. That's exactly like who? Like Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Yochanan, that supports them, which means when is it a done deal and it's completely chai b'maiser with no reductions anymore? Once nichnas el habayit, once it entered your front door, either the chotzer or the bais, each one market islay, at that point it's chai b'maiser. But again, that does not erase what we learned before, that there could be two stages. And by the way, this is the halacha I'm telling you. Yeah, one stage is you fix it, yefaksu. You'll remember that word, right? Yefaksu, which in this case means to fix it, means to take off the flour. Really, the Gemara, the Mishnah in Maasros gives you many, many examples. I keep saying miruach. Miruach is only the term used for grains. Every fruit and vegetable has its own way of being finished. But after it's finished, the Tiferes Sisol says, as I wasn't 100% sure yesterday, but now I'm much more sure, he says you can, if you know you're going to bring it to the house and you didn't yet bring it to the house, you can still nashen it. You can still take one by one, as long as you don't make a proper meal. We'll learn later what that means, yeah? Once it's indoors, that's a second stage. Once it's entered what? The house itself, Pascal like Rabbi Yana, don't touch, you can touch. Don't eat not even 1 gram, not 1 milligram, because now it's kavua. There are two stages. Gmar, finishing off. What's keva in English? Being fixed, being permanent. Yeah, it's a permanent situation. It's kavua, it's set. And at that point, you cannot eat it at all. And that's halacha. Now that's the oraisa. There's the isur d'rabbanan here. Don't do that at home. There are 7 other potential conditions which we spoke to yesterday. We're not there now. Another alternative answer to answer what? Again, what did we ask? Which question did we ask on Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai? You people, Yomeroim, say what? That you chayav only when you bring it to the house, right? And here we see that if you gather it in the field, yeah, that's already good enough. Yeah, once it's gathered in the field, what's gathered? Set nicely in a nice heap. Yeah, once it's gathered in the field, it's gathered. Set nicely in a nice heap. Yeah, once it's gathered in the field, what's gathered? Set nicely in a nice heap. already all nicely arranged, that's already M'chayv L'maiser. Aitz Estira, V'boy Sema, comes another alternative answer. Ki Kama Rabbi Yanai, when Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan, by the way, when they said it has to go into the house, B'zeisim v'anovim, they spoke about olives and grapes. The lav bnei goyren ninhu. Oh, zeisim v'anovim, they claim something very interesting. The word goren does not apply to zeisim v'anovim. If goren in Hebrew is like granary in English, similar word. Yes. Grain, goren. All the English comes indirectly from Lashon HaKodesh. All languages in the world. It's proven. You can see lists and I mean, I know English comes from many languages, but originally, it comes from Lashon HaKodesh, which the world was created with. That's a given. So now, the goren, granary, do you have grapes in the granary? No. What does goren mean? When you arrange it nicely in the granary, then what's mechayev you? The granary. What? To set it nicely, to settle it. You know, when Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai spoke and said it has to go into the house, they spoke about olives and grapes. They don't have miruach. Unbelievable. Zeisim v'anovim, apparently, there's no situation in which you set it nicely and you say, oh, let's have my cup of coffee, let's thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is no such stage. That's what they believe. Mimela, what's the only stage that makes it kavua? When you bring it into the house. You have the anovim and zeisim all messy, all one big pile, which is not organized at all. You bring it indoors, you're caught. You're in Meister territory. Only one thing to bring into the house. Ava, let's continue the Gemara. Chitin v'sa'oirin, goyren behed yaksiv bey. The word goren in the Torah, which denotes what? That organizing means gemar, means the final stage. Then says Rabbi Yanai, I admit, chitin v'sa'orim do not require to be ro'eh pnei habayis. Chitin v'sa'orim, because it's both normal and written in the Torah. Goyren, the Torah says when you goyren, when you make it nice and tidy, your grains, your wheat, your barley, your buckwheat, your spelt, whatever, that is the final stage. And there I agree that we don't need to bring it home. So the Mishnah and I are friends. I spoke about things that there's no goyren, there's no arranging, there's only bringing it home. And the Mishnah spoke about other things like goyren, when you pile it up in the field to a nice heap. Oh, that the Torah says that is called goyren. That's mechayev. So it's two alternatives. The halacha, my friends, is not like the second teretz. Because what's the second teretz which we just saw? They say no, we're not arguing. Depends on the type. You never need both. If it's the second teretz, you never need stage A and 2. If it's a kind of thing like grains and granary, things like that, there's granary, goyren. You set it in the field or in the barn. The barn is not a house, yeah? In the field, in the barn, or even outdoors, that's what finishes off. That's one maslul, one direction. If it's zeisim v'anovim, if these are fruit like olives and grapes, good. Then they have another alternative bringing into the house. That's not the halacha. What's the halacha? In all types of fruit and vegetables, really you need both. You need to arrange it first. That means it's chai b'maiser, but you can still eat it, you can nash around. Once it's indoors, no nashing, hands off, mouth off. That's Begadol. I kept telling you all the time, and I keep hinting to it. What I told you all the time is that's Doraisa. What I told you now is 1,000,000% true Doraisa. Rabbanan were goizer that there are 7 actions or situations that may occur between what? Between the miruach, the gemar, arranging and bringing it to the house. Midrabanan also make it severe and make it kavua. For example, if you salt it, we'll see it later. If you put salt, let's say, in other words, if I eat, let's say I like munching on, let's say, cucumbers. Okay, the cucumbers were nicely arranged in a pile, no flowers, not even one flower, all very nice, or some of the flowers are off. I'm allowed to munch one cucumber while I'm reading my Gemara. How about salting it? Salt isn't a salt, I mean, I have high blood pressure, but besides that, the salt would be an issue because once you put it in salt, that makes it kavua. Then you have to take meiser. Or if I sell it to someone, if I sold you, right, the etzem sell makes it choshuv. Or let's say it on Shabbos, the mifek it on Shabbos kodesh makes it choshuv and makes it kavua. It's an oxymoron. You can't say I'm salting it, but it's snacking. That's not called snacking. Maybe in the Western world it is, not in halacha. Shabbos, there's no snacking. Every achil in Shabbos is a heilig gezach. It's called a kavua. Or if I sold it, once sold, both sides, you and I, cannot eat anymore one tiny bit. Why? Selling makes it choshuv. Same thing if I know how do you say it in English? If I pickled it, kovush. Same thing, v'chule. There are other examples. If I took truma, I'm not saying there are more. Yeah, but that's the concept with the rabbanon. Yeah, or chotzer. Chotzer. By the way, you want to know the halacha many times. Halacha is the Rabbi Yana against Rabbi Yochanan. Halacha is the Rabbi Yana. So midoraisa, only once it enters your home, your flat, your apartment where you actually live, the living room, the kitchen, only then it's chad midoraisa. What about the chotzer? We pass cannot look Rabbi Yochanan, but with the rabbanon, chotzer does make it kavua, just like salting or selling or Shabbos or v'chul. Is the picture clearer now? I hope. Okay, very good. We're actually, for now, I'll be with you in a second, I promise. Before, we're going to have a break now from Maasros, go back to the halacha of a poil eating, and then go back to Maasros. Before, I appreciate your patience. By the way, I found the opinion that says, that Maaser Midoraisa is on Shiva Saminim, the 7 species. That's the Ravid. I think I said, I'm not sure. I saw it in the Shita Mekubetzes. The Shita Mekubetzes saw it yesterday inside. He says the Shiva Saminim. It's not the mainstream opinion. Most opinions think that what's Chayv Doraisa and Maaser, only 3 things, which are written in the Torah. Dagon, Tirosh, Veitza. In English, Dagan, the cereals, the 5 cereals. Tirosh, that's grapes, wine. And Yitzar, olives. Now, the Rambam holds all fruit. And the Ravid holds the Shiva Saminim. Okay? Because he learns from Bikurim to Maasros. And Shiva Saminim, Bikurim apply to. Only Shiva Saminim. Right? Okay. Thank you for your question. And I'm now going to listen to questions. Later. Now we're back to the sugya of the person that's allowed, a person meaning more clearly a worker that's working in someone else's field. Is midoraisa allowed to do what? To pick the fruit. That's not allowed. He's supposed to pick the fruit. As he's picking the fruit, the Torah says he is allowed to eat, right? As he's picking, with limitations that we saw. Right, you can't add another food to it. You can't midoraisa. You can't put it in the kli. Don't take it home. It's not a takeaway restaurant. It's a sit in the place restaurant. Yeah, only while you work. Yeah, don't take it home. Now let's give us. If I had to make a chart here, it would be a very easy chart to make. In the Torah, it only talks about a person working and eating while working. What happened when it's not connected anymore? Let's say now it's in the pile. It's past the harvest stage. What did we say in the Mishnah? You can still eat it. Where is it written in the Torah? The Torah doesn't say that. The Torah speaks about a person who comes with a knife, or a person who comes and picks. The Torah doesn't say that past the picking stage you're allowed to. So how did the Mishnah know that betolush, once disconnected, the human being still remains with his rights to eat? Now, let's now move to the world of animals. Let's study some zoology over here. What did we say? What does the Torah say? Very famous, it's an Isser Torah actually. What's a very famous Isser Torah? Lo tachsom sho b'dishoy. Don't muzzle a show, an ox, while it is threshing. Threshing is a process which is done way after it's disconnected, right? Threshing is when you have the wheat, you have the stalk connected to the grains, yeah, and the animal steps in it, or he steps in it with like a board. And that board makes sure that all the grains get out of the chaff. The kernels get the kerns, they come detached from the stalk, right? That's in Eastern Shabbos. That's when Shabbos you're not allowed to squeeze, you're not allowed to milk and chule. Now, wait a second. So it's interesting. By human being, if you only look at the Torah, not the Rabbanon, have like 4 checkers in your mind now. Yeah, like 4 fields. When it's connected, we know a person is allowed to eat from connected stuff. By an animal, we know the other way. We only know that the animal is allowed to eat from a disconnected thing. What about if my ox is working in the field? That could happen. Let's say, when they did the harvesting, sometimes an ox would come and they would ride on an ox. How do I know, or maybe no, how do I know that an ox is allowed to eat in the field from connected things? Get it? In other words, by a human being, we only see in the Torah, you eat from the connected stuff and from the attached. And by an animal, we only see from the detached. Can we fill in the other empty boxes, meaning a human being disconnected, an animal yes connected? Yeah. Is there also a prohibition on me to stop them from eating in those 2 situations? Let's see what the Gemara has to say. Zok the Gemara, frag the Gemara. Ashkechan odom b'mechuba. We saw in the Torah a person dealing, treating, working with mechubar, with fruit and vegetables attached to the ground. I'm supposed to let him eat as an owner. The shar betolush, and an ox, I'm supposed to not stop him from eating while tolush, while he's dealing with the grains that are disconnected, they're in the granary. Odom betolush minolan. Let's work now with checker number one. Odom betolush minolan. How do we know that a man, a human being working with detached things after it's been already detached? How do we know he's also allowed to eat? Because the Mishnah knows that. The Mishnah says he's allowed to. Up until when is he allowed to eat? Until Gemar, until Meiser. How do you know that? I don't see that in the Torah. And says the Gemara, Kal v'chomer misho. We're learning Kal v'chomer from the show. What does it mean? Umasho she'eno echel b'mechubo. A show, so far, we're in paradise, we're in fool's paradise. Right now, we think from just learning the Chumash, we're now learning Chumash class. Looking at the Chumash, I don't see that an ox is allowed to eat from something attached to the ground, only from the granary, from when he thresholds, the threshold. And a shore, as far as I can see in the Psukim, doesn't eat anything connected to the ground, even while working. And yet, oichel betolush, when it comes to disconnected stuff, he's allowed to, lo tachsom shor bedisho outright, mefurish, odom shoichel b'mechubar, and adin shoichel betolush. A human being where it says mefurish in the Torah is allowed to pick. Last time I checked, you pick something connected. Once he detaches it, he's allowed to eat. All the more so, he's allowed to eat in the disconnected. That's classical gezunta kal v'chomer. Says the Gemara, no. Ma l'shor shekenat metzuva al chasimosoi, which means there is a difference, as I told you before, and I'll tell you again. The level of severity, and this is very nice for animal lovers, the level of severity of muzzling up a show or muzzling up a person or holding a gun to his head and saying, by me, you're not, I'm firing you if you eat one apple, the level is different, apparently. By a show, there is a lav. Lav does mean L-O-V-E. There's a prohibition and 39 lashes if you stop the shore and people snitching you to Beis Din, you're going to get 39 not so nice lashes. That's only by show. A man, even if I stopped him from eating, what I do know in the Torah is picking while eating, eating while picking, and I come and I intimidate and say, you stop that or I fire you, and people snitch on me. No, don't give me malchus. There's no malchus. What will I have to do? I'll have to pay him that I stopped him from, that I avoided. But there's no tzivui as a lav. If so, you can't compare them, right? Don't tell me, well, if a show, then kol shekin a person. It's not true. We see the shore is treated actually nicer. So you can't prove them anyways. Zog the Gemara, okay, wait a second. So let's turn the ball in a completely different way. Let's throw the dice in the opposite way. You know what? You know what? Let's create a lav. A big chiddush here. Let's say that a person should be mitzuva al chasimosoi, meaning, let's say that if a person does intimidate the worker and tell him, don't pick, don't touch, he should be severely punished, and it should be allowed from kal v'chomer mishor. Let's learn that from kal v'chomer mishor. There's a big question which I'll tell you later. What should be the kal v'chomer? Umasho sheyata mitzuva l'achayoisoi, ata mitzuva al chasimosoi. A show, last time I checked, I'm sorry, it's not very 2023. There's no mitzvah to give tzedakah to animals. I know it's not in fashion, but according to the Torah, it says, V'chai achicha imach. You see a poor yid, you have to give him. You have to give a poor person. He's poor, you have to give him. You see a poor animal, there's tzal ba'alechaim. There's no chiyuv to give charity to animals. It's not, no, there isn't actually. Human beings come first. So now the Gemara wants to say like this. There's no mitzvah of tzedakah on the shore, and yet mitzvah al chasimosoi, and yet I mitzvah with lashes. Serious tzivui. If I muzzle it, adam shata mitzvah al chayoisoi. A human being, a yid, that you mechuyev to be mechayev, v'chei chicha imoch, is a mitzvah of tzedakah. Ein odin shata mitzvah al chasimosoi. Or the more so, I'll create a chiyuv of like lotachson by human being. And if you stop the human being from eating, I'll tell you from kal v'chomer, you're punished. It's a very, very, very difficult more to understand. And I saw Marit El-Ghazi, one of the Kedmonim, asked the question which I asked, and Mechavrus asked. There's a famous rule that says, En oinshin min adin. and mazhirin min adin. You can't create a lav, a prohibition in the Torah, out of logic of kal v'chomer. It can be very logical, but only the lavim written in the Torah lavim. You can't create your logical. You can create kal v'chomer for a mominous, for all kinds of things and logics. You can't create kal v'chomer to create an isser doraisa. So it's a question, and the Mrital Gazi stays a little bit vague about it. So I'm just telling you, question mark. In any event, the Gemara rejects it. All wells when ends well. Omar Kro, no, we don't believe that anyways. Why? Kenafshecho, kenafshoy shel poyel, as we saw before. When the Torah compares the reason why we don't say that kal v'chomer to make it more severe and forbid me from stopping the worker, what's kenafshecho? We compare the balabais to the poyel, meaning man nafshoy im chasamtoi potu. Let's see you yourself, Mr. Big Boss, Mr. Owner, you yourself pick in the field. If you stop yourself, gesundheit, I admire you for your good midos of shviras hayetzer. You're in a very good diet. You're not eating the apples. Of course, you can stop yourself from eating. Af poyel im chasamtoi potu. Oh, a poyel too. A poyel, if you stop the poyel from eating, you're potur, and nobody's going to do anything to you except for the monetary payment. In any event, Lamaisa, after all the twists and turns, back to square one. The Ella, at the end of the day, Odom betolush minolan. We didn't come up with an answer yet. Don't be mystified. Odom betolush minolan. Where on earth does the Mishnah said that? How does the Mishnah know that an Odom, a human being working for you, and it's already detached from the ground, it's scattered all over the ground, and he's now picking it. He's now heaping it up, piling it up. How do you know he's allowed to eat? It doesn't say it in the Torah. The Torah says keliecho. The Torah says when you pick it. So how do you know? Omar Kro, and that's one of two answers. Lamaskano, Omar Kro. It says in the Torah, in the second pasuk, if you remember, it talks about the person going into the wheat field, not into the vineyard. It says kama beis peomim. The word kama, standing wheat, sting up wheat upright or whatever upright. It's really all vegetables and fruit. Twice. It says it twice. That's a redundant word. One word we need. Why the second word? Im eino inyan la'odom b'mechuba, t'neu inyan la'odom b'tolush. This is a classical limud which we have many, many times in the Gemara. I call it the overflow rule, which means, let's say, what do? Let's say you got 2 tickets to a choshev show, Rabbonim speaking, and Hasidic singers. 100 shekel, you got 2 tickets. You're only one person. Your wife is not interested in as a snowshoe. Only you. What do? You give it to a friend. You sell, you give, whatever. Bring a friend along, right? That's what the Torah says. Sometimes the same word or the same limud or the same whatever, the same source appears twice. So it overflows. One word, kama, when the word kama appears once, it means what? A human being picking while eating while picking while eating. That's one. There's an extra word kama. What do you do with it? There's another word in the Torah which is redundant. You take it to the next door neighbor, which in this case is what? The limud of a human being past what? Past detachment. Once it's already detached, and the Torah is alluding and hinting to me to tell me that even though it's been detached already, the human being is still allowed to eat it. It's kilu. It's not the pshat of the pasuk. It's like a redundant word that's used for the next idea that we have here, the next concept. Yes, you can ask now. We are towards the end of the narrow lines. Pei ches amud beis, and I'm with you with your questions. Yes. Okay. So based on the questions people asked here, and maybe our viewers at home also have those questions, I'm going to answer 2 questions. Answer now, issue number 1. When we say meiser here, meiser, this as of now, the issue has nothing to do with the prohibition of eating not gemeisered. Meiser here is just the cutoff point. It's a siman, not a siba, as we say in yeshivish. In other words, it's a way to symbolize an indicator. That's the word in English. Meiser is an indicator. Once the grains or the whatever, the fruit, vegetables, papaya, anona, once they are ready to be meisered, which is gemal, up until that point, the poil may eat. That's all. Doesn't mean nothing to do actual prohibition. Secondly, I'd like to sort of amend, fix a bit what I said before. When I say detached, I meant detached or attached. Of course, when you pick from the fruit, from the trees, you are detaching and eating. And when I said detached, I meant to say past that, meaning the post-picking process. The picking process is called attached because I'm now detaching it. That's one time I'm allowed to eat. Later on, I'm allowed to eat once detached, once picked, and I'm doing something else with it. I arrange it, I take it, I ride the truck to take it to the new machsan. That is the other process. That's the other name. Okay, very good. Now, Zok the Gemara, another answer. Ravami Omar. Ravami says, Adam betolush, you're confused. You want to find a source for how do you know a person is allowed to eat from the detached, from the post-picked, something that's already picked? Lo tzarich kra. We don't need a pasuk for that. Siv, it says outright. Kisovay bekerem re'echo. It says if you come to your friend's field. Milo yaskinan shesocher lekatef. Listen to this. The Torah actually didn't speak about picking. The Torah spoke about you come to the kerem, you come to the vineyard, maybe sochroy lekatev. Maybe we're talking here about a person who comes to the field past picking, and you know what his job is? Lekatev, to be the schlepper, to take the baskets with the grapes on his shoulder, on his katef, and take it to the machsan. The Omer Rachmon Alechul. The Torah says you should eat. In other words, your whole assumption was wrong. It's true we're talking about the picking area, but it's very correctly said, Ellen, it's picking and past picking. The Torah speaks about all of them. Who says it's only a picker? And some people pick, and at the same time, 1-2 vines are already all done. Comes a third guy, Levi. What does he do? He takes it and he schleps it to the other place. He also is allowed to eat. That's how we know that a human being is allowed to eat from something already detached, and now we're the post-picking process. Now comes the other side. So one checker we filled. What is that? The checker of a human being, the tolush. Human being that deals with something, I'll define it to you, Ellen. Yeah, it's when a human being deals with something at the beginning of his work, it's already detached. Oh, that's how I would say it. Yeah. In other words, when you deal with something, the beginning of your work process in the keg that you are in the big machine, your part of the process is to deal with something that started detached. Yeah. When it came to your department, it started detached. How do you know you're allowed to eat? Two sources, either kama or pashut. It says you come to the kerem. Maybe it means the guy who's coming to schlep. That's now we're done with it. Very good, mazel tov. Now, shor b'mechuba minolan, second wide line. How do you know the other checker, the other field in the chart? How do you know that a bull that is working in the field with mechuba stuff, things that are still attached, although they're being detached, he comes to the vineyard and the animal sees all these nice produce, can't resist. How do you know? Maybe I'm allowed to muzzle it. I'm not allowed to muzzle it. Look, I'll show you the Chumash Dvarim. Yeah, Pashas Kiseitze. What does it say there? Bedishoy. When it's threshing in the threshold, maybe in the field, I'm allowed to muzzle it. Says the Gemara, no. Kal v'chomer me'odom. We try again. Another attempt to Kal v'chomer from Odom. The Gemara always likes to do Kal v'chomer. It's one of the Gimel Midas. Yeah. Uma Odom she'eno oichel betolush, oichel b'mechuba. A human being, which, if you only look at the Chumash, if you only see the Chumash words, he's not supposed to eat from tolush, meaning he's supposed to. But Rashi says kloimar. In other words, we know, but the Torah doesn't tell us outright that a human being eats from detached. We know that from our information, from our knowledge. And yet he eats from attached. When it comes to the attached thing, as he's speaking them, he's allowed to eat. A shor which we know very well outright, black and white, it says in the Torah, in the detached, and the din shochel b'mechuba. Of course, he's allowed to eat in the attached. Very good. Says the Gemara, again, the Gemara is now breaking the Kal v'chomer. No, Adam and Shor are not the same, with all due respects to animal rights. A human being has what both checkers covered, and definitely what? A human being, you are not allowed to stop him when he's eating from the attached, because there's a mitzvah l'chayoisoi, v'chachi chaymach, mitzvah tzedakah. A bull, how can you compare? I have no mitzvah to give tzedakah to the shor. Maybe feed it a little bit if it's very hungry. But there's no mitzvah v'chay shor choymach. Yeah, but what's the room to compare? Zog the Gemara, wait a second. You know what? Hagufa. Let's try and challenge that itself. Maybe give tzedakah to the animals. The Yesha mitzvah l'chayoisoi. Let's create now what? It's tzedakah organization for animals. Let the Torah say, let us learn from the Torah a mitzvah to give tzedakah to the animals. Mikal v'chomer. What's kal v'chomer? Uma odem shi'i et hamutzu vel chasimosoi. and we know that's true. A human being, you're not mitzuv al chasimos. What does it mean? Even though I'm supposed to allow my workers to work in the field and eat in the field, but if I intimidate them and stop them, I'm not getting malchus. At the mitzuv al chayoisoi, and yet when it comes to tzedakah, give tzedakah to those very workers or to any poor person. Show shat the mitzuv al chasimosoi is show post attached, which means detached. Your mitzvah, and once it's threshing, if you stop it, if you muzzle it, you're gonna get 39 painful lashes. All the more so, give tzedakah to the RCCP, CCCPA, all these organizations. No, yeah, same thing. Omar Kra, that would be a very nice idea. However, says the Torah, no. By the way, this would be better because my question before, Kal V'chomer, you don't create prohibitions because of Kal V'chomer. But mitzvah out of Kal V'chomer may create a positive commandment. Says the Gemara, nice try, but the Torah doesn't say that. Omar Krav v'chei achicha imoch. Your brother should live with you. Achicha v'lo yishoir. Your brother and not the animal. Animals and human beings are not the same. Baruch Hashem. Good for that. Your brother, says the Torah outright, not v'chei imach anything. V'chei achicha imach. Your brother, your fellow Jew should live with you. Make sure, by the way, it's not only tzedakah, also means to loan, to lend. It's a pasuk about ribbis, by the way. Don't take ribbis, give him an interest-free loan. Make sure before it becomes poor to give him a profession, v'chulei, b'kitzer. But the show, there's no such mitzvah. Okay, back to square one. If you killed the kal v'chomer, which you did, so where do we know that if the ox or the donkey or whoever comes to the field to work with attached stuff, how do I know I'm not supposed to muzzle them? Or maybe I'm allowed to muzzle them. Very good, similar idea. It says, the word re'echo, your friend, appears in the pasuk twice. One is very nice. The second time is the extra ticket you have for the show. What do you do with the extra word? Beis pe'omim, twice. If it's not necessary anymore to tell me about feeding or allowing the food, allowing the eating to a person who works in the mechuba, which, because we already know that from the first re'echa, now therefore you give the second one, the extra word is given, so to speak, as an overflow to the next best thing, which is shor b'mechuba. We know that shor, there's an issue with the shor eating, because we know a shor is not allowed to eat, he's allowed. Sorry, I'm not allowed to muzzle the show in the Eina Mechuba. Now I know the show in the Mechuba, I'm not allowed to muzzle from the extra word Re'echa. That's answer number one. Ravina Oma. Ravina comes with a mega answer to answer all issues. All checkers have one magic solution according to Ravina. Ravina Oma. Lo yodem etolush, v'lo show b'mechuba tzrich yikroi. Both missing values here. Both a person eating in the detached and an animal in the attached, they don't need psukim. They don't even need any extra word. Dichtiv, we learn it from the actual pasuk about the bull, about the show. Dichtiv, lo tachsum sho bedishoy. Yeah, lo tachsum sho bedisho. Don't stop an animal, a show, while it is threshing. Let me ask you a question. Let's say my favorite animal for threshing for disha is a donkey, or a goat, kangaroo. Then what? I'm allowed to muzzle them? What do you think? It's only a bull? No, what? No, you're not allowed to muzzle any. How do you know? Ox is an ox. Maybe other animals know. Oh, so there is a Gemara in Bava Kama, and the Gemara in Bava Kama in Daladam base says, whenever with you remember Vakama, with the exception of, we all know, a Ganav who shechts only shol v'seh. Usually, when the Torah talks about shor v'chamo, these are the common animals, and also hashkafically, they represent there's a lot of hashkafic baggage on shor v'chamo. But the Maisa shor v'chamo, says the Gemara in where Bava Kama and Daladam base, the Gemara says just like in Shabbos we say v'chol be'emtecha. Who's supposed to rest on Shabbos besides human beings? Shorcho v'chamocho and kol be'emtecha. We learn from Shabbos as a prototype to call the Torah kula. Whenever or almost whenever the Torah says shor v'chamo, either shor or chamo or both, they represent the entire animal kingdom. Okay, so let's see what that has to do with us. Peites Amud Aleph. Michdi, at the end of the day, kol mili itnu b'chasima. All types of animals, You do your threshing with an iguana. Yeah, cool guy. Yeah, whatever you do, you're not allowed to muzzle the iguana. Yeah, any animal you're not allowed to be choisem. The alfinan shol shol mishabes, as I told you. We learn shol shol gzera shova mishabes. Just like b'Shabbos, all animals are supposed to rest with their level of resting. Okay, very nice. So then the question really is, why did we pick shor as an example? Im ken, if so, lichtav rachmana loitodush bechasima, which means the Torah could have avoided, that's very, very important to understand, two words could have been avoided. We could have written, don't thresh with muzzling. We could have avoided the word shor and also the verb tachsoim. When the Torah says, look at imagine yourself you had to make a cartoon or a picture, a movie of the pasuk lo tachsom shor bedisho. How many characters would be in that comic strip? Two. Lo tachsom, you. We're talking to someone. You, yeah, you're right there. Lo tachsom, meaning there's a human being in the room, and the Torah is talking to him. Don't muzzle it, the show. Oh, so there are two, we could have avoided both noun and verb. Show the cause of Rachmana lamali. So why did the Torah say tachsom and the word show? La kush yichoisem lenechsam, the nechsam lechoisem. The Gemara brought these two characters to the story, lehakish, to compare, to juxtapose, as they say, yeah, between the choisem, the one muzzling, to the one being muzzled, and vice versa. We want to compare them all to all intents and purposes. Ma choisem oichel b'mechuba, just like that very human being who's what? Who's now muzzling or not muzzling the show, when he works in the field, the boss, the employer is not allowed to stop him, right? He eats. So to the show, the ox, when he's working in the field, or it is working in the field, it also, you're allowed to let it range free, eat whatever it wants. And just like the animal, the nechsam, the one being muzzled, the animal eats and is allowed to eat from the disconnected, from the threshold, so to a choisem, the human being is allowed to eat from the detached. And that's the final answer. One big happy family. In other words, yeah, we have the Torah dafka use certain words to compare human beings to animals, yeah, and vice versa, to tell me those two fields that were missing in each, the show, the mechuba, or the betalush, all merged together, and you're not supposed to stop either your human being worker or your ox worker from eating while in the field or outside the field. And that's the end of the story. Not the end of the shiur, but that's a maskona. Good? Happy. Very nice. Tono abonon. Continue. Tono abonon. Daish, it says in the Torah, the example that the Torah brings regarding what? Regarding work that the animal, and now we know also the person. They've been compared already, right? They're one party, one coalition. Now, daish, what's daish? Threshing. Ma daish meyuchad dover shegidul karka. Daish applies to gidul karka. Threshing is what? To take the kernels out of the chaff. It's also the chaff, not just according to some, yeah. Or disconnecting it from the thingy, from the stalk. It's gidul karka. Things that grow on the ground. The poil oichel boy, and a worker, either animal or a poil, human being, is allowed to eat while threshing. That teaches me a prototype to all other items of gidul karka, not only grains, not only wheat and barley and buckwheat, any gidul karka, anything that grows from the ground. Buckwheat in halacha is not, it's kusmin. I know the buckwheat, they always translate that as kusmin, and buckwheat, kusmin is one of the 5 grains in halacha. I know from my Anglo friend. Kuditiado is spelt. You're right. I apologize. You're right. Buckwheat is what today we call kusemet, and the kusemet of the Torah is spelt. I think so. You're right. It's spelt wrong. True. There's kusemet and kusmin. You're right. Also, I stand corrected. B'cholofen, not only the 5 grains, yeah, not only whatever the thing, all 5s, yeah, shifo and chitos oira, not only them, any fruit and vegetable. 1 second. Yotza, excluding who? Achoilev, milking. The mechabetz, the one separating the whey from the curd. Yeah, the one who's causing chavitza. He wants separate whey water He's he wants to have more protein, and he uses the curd for, I don't know, cheese, whatever. The megaben is a later stage when you take the pieces of curd and you connect them together to create cheese. The kids are the person who deals with cheese, milk. She'en gidul karka. Milk is not gidul karka. Milk doesn't grow in the ground. Then poil ochel boy, and the poil doesn't eat in that. Yeah, okay, something that was grown from, or I would say something that was milked from the cow, from the goat, from the sheep. You're not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to drink from that milk, or while you make the cheese. You're not allowed. It may be very tempting. You love the beautiful cup of milk in the coffee, not in the coffee, in the cereal. You're not allowed to eat that while working. Why? That's not included in the Torah's tzivui, in the Torah's heter. Yes, I'm with you, Ellen. Frag the Gemara, Lamali, why do you need Bechlal, this whole business? You need the Torah, Daish, to tell me what? Milking and making cheese are out of the story. Why do you need all that? What does the Torah say? It says the person who comes to the vineyard. You can extend vineyard to all other agricultural places, right? But mechitesi, why would have I thought the milking is in the story, right? It says come to the vineyard. It would say also orchard, also olive grove. But why would have I thought about milking anyways? And it says more itzrich. Yes, I would have thought, and I do need the extra pasuk of Daish. Salkadat Achminim, what would have thought? Kama. What is the item in the second pasuk that I'm allowed to eat as a worker? Kama. What does kama mean? High, tall, standing upright. L'rabos kol baalei kama, right? And what did we say? Oh, including not only the 5 species, anything that grows from the ground and stands upright could be even 1 centimeter. Yeah, very short. That's all fruit and vegetables, all grow above ground, including potatoes. Yeah. Ooh, let's be daring. Maybe kama means what? Anything that stands above the ground. Last time I checked, most cows and sheep don't live in bunkers. They don't live in caves. I don't think so. They live where? Above ground. Look, you can see the cow as you drive to Kiryat Gat. Yeah, here's the cow above ground. Oh, maybe kama means standing. By the way, how do you know that you stoif when you count 3 somer you have to stand? How do you know? There are 2 sources. Stam is the most mitzvahs done when you're standing up. Secondly, it says in halacha kama, meaning it says machel chemesh bakama. Kama means koma, standing, by human beings. So you see, there's a comparison. Kama may mean human beings or animals that are standing upright. Kamash malan, kamash malan, kamash malan. The Torah tells me that would be a very nice idea, but no. When the Torah says daish, the Torah means daish only something that comes from the ground and not something that comes from the animal and you're milking it. That's not included. Very good. Rolling Tanya Idach. Wow, the week is going so fast and the Torah is with us all the way. Tomorrow morning, regular Shiur. It's never regular. The Torah is always a big chiddush and always beautiful new stuff. Tomorrow night, anybody interested, there's Mishma night here now with Sholem starting at 8, I think, the Shiur from the Rav. 9 o'clock Mariv, 9:15 are Shiurim by several people, including your loyal servant over here. And my topic will be Torah and Mitzvah. Sounds very boring, I know, but it's actually, hopefully, it'll make it interesting. And you're all welcome to come. Thank you to everybody on YouTube, Torah Anytime, and any other platform you can hear us on. Thank you so much. Atzlocha u'baracha.